Welcome to ETK's Sub Series. We have with us Minnat Lalpuria, who is the founder and CEO of probably India's first ever wedding marketplace, 7VACHAN.com. And she graduated from ISB in 2012, and then since then she has been bitten with this great entrepreneurial bug, and of all the areas she has chosen this area, and we would like to catch up with her as to why this space, that's one, and then what are her plans to make it big in the Indian wedding space, which is actually going through a metamorphosis in the last 3-4 years especially. Welcome to ETK's.
Thank you.
Let's go through your career itself. I think before you got into ISV in 2011, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Right? And then before that you were with digital marketing companies.
Yes.
Yeah. So take us through that whole journey.
So I am an engineer from Bombay, SPC. Post that I picked up the first job on campus, which was TCS. But it was very boring for me. And I ended up quitting it in 6 months.
Okay.
And that time digital marketing was just about coming in. And computers and
that
internet.
Was in 2009?
2007.
Oh.
So that I joined a company called as Quasar, which was a part of Smile Group. I really found it very intriguing as to how online medium can help brands in marketing themselves, right? It's a huge reach for consumers. So I started with the Bombay team, and probably the third member in the team. Grew up 2 years there, managed all national brands from various verticals. So we did Skoda, Channel V, Kotak, Mahindra Bank, etc. So I was the account manager for them. So I understood how digital really works in terms of from how a website is made to the various marketing channels, SEM, SEO, SMM. I was probably the first one to do a Facebook ad in India. So I really enjoyed this entire medium a lot. And then I went on to the Upper Story, which is a Singapore-based digital agency. They wanted to enter India. So I was heading India for them. I had clients in Australia, in Dubai, Southeast Asia.
But for all of them in India, yes.
Yeah, but I would do the sourcing of the projects from India, but it would get executed in Malaysia and Singapore. Okay. So the talent was there. It was a good mix of good talent at India prices, if I could say that.
Right.
So I really enjoyed doing all these businesses. Went into ISP. Probably lucky to get into ISP.
So before getting into ISP, so what made you get into ISP? Because normally people would have loved to.
So I had a very quick growth in my career, and I was really enjoying it. But at some point in time, I started thinking about what next.
Okay.
And I did not actually plan MBA. I just happened to give GMAT because my friends were giving GMAT. I didn't score terribly well. But I just applied to ISB. My thing was I was very clear that I want a career in India. I wasn't looking to go abroad, unlike most of my friends. So ISB was the only institute that I applied to because I was very clear about an India career and the kind of network it gives. I just gave it a shot thinking if I get it, great. If not, I continue.
Right.
And I got through.
So during these ISBs, I'm sure you must have gone through very rigorous courses with a lot of assignments, homework and participation, or plus assignments and all that kind of thing. So when this, do you think, if you have to reflect back now, the idea of entrepreneurship was getting germinated there?
Honestly, my dad is an entrepreneur. He's a first-gen entrepreneur, and I have been helping in his business since my childhood.
Oh.
Being the elder one, you always get into these things, right? So I really used to like it. So he comes from a very different background. He's in repairs and redevelopment in Mumbai. That's a very, very male-dominated industry, if I can say that. So just to computerize the entire process for him, getting all simple things like your employee management, etc., is something which I did in my junior college for him.
Okay.
So I was sort of involved in it. I don't think I really had an entrepreneurial bug, but I think I was not kicked about picking up any job. So I rejected about 35-40 offers on campus. So till I actually graduated from ISB, I did not know I'm going to start up. To be very, very honest with you. But what ISB really did is, because the different cases and the different learnings from the classroom, plus various B-plan competitions,
Right.
I was crazy to participate in as many as I could. But it really helped think through different problems with a different set of people and come up to a common solution.
So are you telling us now that when you actually graduated, you never had a placement offer in your hand?
I had, but I didn't accept it.
Oh. So what you were looking at,
So strangely enough, my thought was that the next 5 years of my life is very critical to me. Maybe a very feministic view, but I thought, I don't know what kind of family I'd be married to. In 5 years, I'll definitely have a kid. So probably I have just 5 years to make or break my career.
Okay.
So going to a place where I'm replaceable did not sound very exciting to me. So I just did not accept a job offer.
Very good.
It was not that it was a question of salary or the kind of role that you were getting. Of course, it was pretty exciting. Given ISB, there was no doubt about it. But it was not exciting to me.
Sure. So you graduated, if I'm right, in June 2012.
April.
Right? April, right?
Yeah.
Now, so how did this the idea of 7VACHAN's.com came about?
So honestly, when I graduated, I started thinking, okay, what do I really want to do? And when you're in B school, right, you will always have a bunch of friends who will say, yes, we will do something big and we will start up, etc. So I think they were more determined than I was. I was probably a job person and they were the startup person. But situations so that we were on exactly opposite places. They bagged good jobs. I did not bag good jobs. And when we actually sat down to think of ideas, we had 3 verticals that we thought we could make a difference at. One was healthcare, but I'm honestly scared of blood, so I pushed that idea out. One was education, but that's a tricky business to sort of get into. And the third was weddings. Weddings was my personal choice. I think every woman naturally gets attracted to this segment. Plus, I come from a Marwari background where every year there is a wedding happening. So I'm very, very used to seeing weddings around me.
And lavish weddings.
Lavish weddings, absolutely. And my thing was that 95% of India does not use a wedding planner. So people are actually going about doing this, running around all by themselves.
Right.
So why isn't there anything that can help them?
Right.
That's how 7VACHAN's started.
Okay.
So in June, I actually started researching this vertical, this industry a lot. And I realized that unfortunately the only business related to weddings is wedding planners. And nobody around me hired a wedding planner.
Sure.
Then I did a survey of about 1,000 people. I saw more than 95% of India is not hiring a wedding planner. So if they are DIY customers, why isn't there a platform which can help me? So it was basically, it started off as a platform where I can share information.
Right.
Because if you are getting married and I'm getting married, we are probably going to the same 20 places.
Right.
We are probably meeting the same 30 photographers. Because if they're ultimately the market pool is the same, right? But there was no platform for you and me to share information.
Right.
That's how 7VACHAN's started.
So I think before we get to the business model,
Yeah.
So what is importance for the thing called 7VACHAN.com?
So actually, 7VACHAN means the 7 vows, right?
Okay.
That is irrespective of caste, culture, creed. You make 7 promises to each other, be it in the West or in India. That's how 7VACHAN came across.
So that you get solemnized.
Yes. And this is something which only happens during a wedding. Otherwise, you don't make 7 promises to each other. So, so that's how this 7VACHAN name came out.
So when you started off, that must be around what? I think around 2012.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe. What? I think September kind of thing.
Yeah, September we actually launched our website.
Very good.
And we thought that first, let me test whether people will even look at online as a serious medium for weddings, which is an extremely personalized event. Probably one of the biggest events you have in your life. Probably the event where you're spending your entire parents' life savings. So I really wanted to test whether people will use online as a medium to take these decisions. So we did 100 weddings first year. And I tested this out loud and clear, and we realized that online will definitely work for this.
One is that when you get the conviction that yes, I think the one that I've chosen is going to be doing very well. So was there an instant maybe from your classmates?
No, I just gave myself 3 years.
Okay.
So when I started off...
Sure, that's from the point of view of business. But then your ability to do and execute.
Oh, I still doubt it. So I don't think you can ever figure out if you have the ability.
Right.
As long as you believe in the idea and as long as you think you're solving a real problem, I think just go for it.
Good.
There's no real situation which tells you, okay, you can become an entrepreneur.
Sure.
I think if you want to make a difference, just go ahead. And along the way, you'll find interesting people. If you have the best team, it just keeps you going.
No, what I'm saying is, was there any instance that gave you that conviction that yes, I think one is that I'm very happy about the one that I've chosen for, that's one. And then yes, with my abilities, with my conviction, of course it can be 10 years horizon, whatever it is. But was there any in the beginning, maybe around 2012, 2002, whenever it was, where you actually had that, this is something that...
So if you look at the numbers, right, when I was doing my research, this was back then 100,000 crores. I couldn't even count the number of zeros when I looked at the market research. The 10 million weddings that happen in a year. When the numbers are so huge, my basic thing was, why hasn't anyone captured this market yet? And so still I did not know whether I could do it, but I thought there's a potential.
Right.
And the ability part, I don't think you can ever answer that.
Right.
So it was just because the market was attractive.
So let's spend a few minutes on your initial ideas. Maybe I'm sure you must have had a lot of well-wishers, including your props or maybe your good friends, and maybe friends, whoever it is. What was your idea of maybe 3-4 the pillars on which your entire business model is upon thing? So from that point of view,
you mean in terms of people?
In terms of not people, in terms of the business idea, where we're coming from is maybe let's look at, for the sake of clarity, the 5 P's of your business. One is the value proposition, because that's the one that you want to give to the customers.
Yeah.
And then the second one is related to that one is definitely how do you define your target customers? Because when you look at the marriage, it can range from the bottom of the pyramid customer to the high net worth individual who can be billionaire kind of thing. So you have this entire range of customers.
Correct.
Right? But then your site or your business might like to relate or serve only certain kind of customers. One.
Yes.
So the second P is about, from the point of view of strategic angle, how do you like to position this company? So it must stay in the company because it's not the product and services, but then in the light of in the mind of customers. Okay, so because like you would have studied in MBA time, every product I buy or every service that I hire, it is actually doing a job for me.
Yes.
So like people say, I buy a product, but then I pay for the brand.
Yes.
Right. So from that's the second one that we're looking at. Third one can be in terms of now when you say the marriage, especially in context, it's a plethora of services that people want, right from the wedding card till the time guests are being seen off. So it's a whole launch. It's actually a big value chain that comes across to this entire stage. That's the one that we're looking at from the point of portfolio service. That's the third P.
Yeah.
The fourth one, which because the crucial part, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be in terms of the pricing.
Correct.
Right? Because as a customer, so what kind of pricing? Because the cost is one that either you or the vendors will have. That's a pricing. And the last one is going to be, which is the more, coming back to I think where you can draw back from your earlier experience of the digital marketing. So how are you using this digital marketing space to promote this kind of thing? So these 5 P's, if I'm right, can be what do you say? I won't say pigeonhole, but then they can actually constitute broadly the business model.
Absolutely.
Can you take us through each one of them?
So firstly, let me start by saying that these 5 P's has greatly evolved. I think it's gone a huge curve over the past 3 years. When we started off, we really said we would serve any wedding that we get hold of because it was really pilot testing the idea. So the first 6 months we needed to figure out, once the industry is decided right, the problem statement is huge. The problem statement was very clear that it's a very disorganized, fragmented market where even finding the correct option. So it was not a problem of you not having money, but how do I get value for money was the huge problem. Now, The other thing was weddings, like you said, is a plethora of services, right? So there are so many different businesses that itself can become a wedding business, right? So if you look at photography, that itself, I mean, there are people earning only on photography for wedding. People are earning only as florist for weddings. Like they have their entire livelihood based on it. So we are talking about not one industry, but we were actually talking about multiple industries. So if I look at hotels or venues, you look at hospitality, you look at travel tourism, you look at trade.
And food.
Everything. F&B, you look at clothes, you look at jewelry, you look at anything around you, you can actually correlate it to wedding.
Right.
So what we decided was, what we will do is essentially help you get your services in place. Whatever you need for your wedding, we will help you with.
So it's one-stop shop for you.
One-stop shop. That has been our vision since day one. Okay. Now the plan was, how do we execute this? So we first got actively involved with whatever wedding we could get our hands on. But the only caveat was, it was not supposed to be someone who I know, because I wanted absolutely non-biased feedback. Someone who would like kill me left, right and center and tell me you were horrible. This is what I expected out of you. Okay. So the first 100 weddings, we did almost everything possible because the learnings for it was extremely critical for me. So we were probably a team of 3 people then. I don't even know how I hired my first person. She was just so excited about the idea that we just teamed up. That's it. There was no salary discussion or anything like that. When we started dealing with customers, we started seeing what the real pain points were. We had a very good idea from the initial survey that I had done, about 1,000 customers. But we wanted to see what market reality is. So we did a market reality check for 6 months. We developed a pricing strategy that we thought it would work, and it did work. Then we kept evolving our 5 Ps as the time went. Right. So when we were doing offline, your mechanisms of working is very different when you're working online. Right. So then from offline to online, what would be the strategy? We developed it over the next 6 months. So from March 2013, I had a very clear idea of what we want to be and what we want to do. Okay. So 6 months was all ground, dirty work. I did everything possible, from hiring a venue to your shopping. So in shopping, I took about 1 month. I got about 300 brands on board from the biggest names that you can think about. And it was a very simple proposition. You go shop at any of these brands, you get a 10% off. So we started with simple things, but big brands, big hotels, that was the target segment that we thought weddings would really attract to. Right. Now, of course, we are serving all classes, but initially we thought we decided onto a top-down approach. Okay. My thinking was that if you get the 5 stars, getting the local banquets will not be a challenge. So we only wanted to cater to 5-star customers first, which would probably be the most difficult. If I can serve them, I could probably be serving a bigger mass. So we took a top-down approach consciously. We started building a platform, an online platform which could serve this.
But also it would be good to say that when you start serving these HNIs, part of it, with the high-end customers, the margins can be higher?
No, actually it's the other way around.
Is it?
So we need to understand that when you're talking to HNIs, they already have a huge connection. They have a huge network. They've probably been to a 5-star more than I have been to. Right. So they understand the services, the levels much more than I can really explain it to them. Initially, I was not looking to make money. Initially, it was about keeping my customers happy. So since day one, we've been very, very customer focused. Like I'm personally customer finicky. Sure. If we serve 400 weddings, I can easily say that I can't think of more than 1 or 2 customers who are unhappy with me. That's the level of service that you need in weddings. Because like I said, in weddings, the biggest pain point was trust and transparency. So even when I interviewed people who had hired a wedding planner, my question to them was, why wouldn't you refer this wedding planner to your next wedding in the house or to someone else who you know is getting married? The fact is that I know this guy has made money in my wedding. He's not telling me. There was no trust, there was no transparency. Although he's worked extremely hard, but he's not transparent, which is what people did not like. So the pillars on which 7VACHAN was built was trust and transparency. And we are still on that basic principles. So one-stop shop and trust and transparency still hasn't changed. It's only extended. So when I say trust and transparency, it has to be within the team as well. It cannot be only to customers. It has to be with my vendors as well.
Right.
It cannot be only with customers. So it's on all the three ends that we built the same values.